Cammy, welcome back to Valley Parade. It's great to see you. Looking very well.
To be here.
How does it feel being back here, a place where you've got so many memories?
Oh, great. Absolutely fantastic. When I think about my time in football, you can't change the course of history, whatever happens. But you look back and think, this was a good part of my history, and I wouldn't be where I am today without Bradford.
We'll start at the very beginning of your Bradford City career. You signed here in 1994. You'd had a playing career, represented a number of different clubs before that point. What were your early impressions of Bradford City? How pleased were you to be here, and how did you find the club initially?
Well, uh, I did obviously Leeds and Sheffield United. And would you believe the final day of the 94 season, we were in the Premier League, Sheffield United, and we were away at Chelsea. Harry Dave Bassett didn't pick me, so I was on the bench but not stripped for the bench. So at 20 past 4, we were 16th in the Premier League table. So that meant that I could have a clause in my contract that allowed me another year in the Premier League. So it was great. 25 past 4, Dave equalised. Chelsea, we hear the reports from Everton. They're playing Wimbledon and they're 2-0 down against Wimbledon. Anyway, the game goes on. Dennis Wise, who played for Dave Bassett at Wimbledon, scores the winner for Chelsea. We hear that Graham Stewart has just scored the winner for Everton, and Ipswich have just won. So we're relegated. Absolutely devastated. I'm devastated because my contract's finished. And we fly out the next morning to Australia for a 3-week tour. So you can imagine what that's like, just being relegated. Anyway, we get in the airport and everyone's down, and Dave Bassett says that game at Goodison was a bit dodgy. And we went, no, not at all. How could it be? Wimbledon led 2-0. Anyway, the FA had an inquiry to it, but nothing happened. And basically, I was free. The World Cup was in America, which was great. And I'd already organized to do some coaching at a girls' college. So I flew out there not knowing what club I had at all. Trying to keep tabs back on. We end up going to Dallas Bowl, watching Argentina play in Romania or someone like that. And I'm getting anxious by this time, loving the coaching job with the girls, but worried about the club. Anyway, we'd just finished training one day, and I look at my phone and it's a call from an English number. So listen to the message. It's Lenny Lawrence from Bradford. So give me a call, Cock, would you? So I'd played for Lenny at Borough. So I knew him well. So I thought, fingers crossed, he's now manager of Bradford. I'll be going there. Anyway, he says, any sniffs? have you had? And I went, no, not yet, Lenny. I'm in the States coaching. So he went, well, we're thinking of signing you, but the chairman won't sign you until the 1st of August. And I said, why? I'm out of contract. He said, well, contracts got paid, even though they finished on June the 30th. You got an extra month's money from the club as a payoff, so to speak. So Jeffrey Richmond, who was the chairman, didn't want to pay that extra month. So I said, Lenny, look, I get back on the 20th of July. I'll just come in and train. And he went, well, I'll try and sort the contract out. Then, anyway, I played came to train for a week with no money, and eventually when it became 1st of August, I signed straight away, and it was the best thing I could have done. Basically, I was looking to go into coaching anyway, and I was using my experience, or thought I was, to good use with Lenny. And we got off to a cracking start. I was just a player. Paul Jewell, Gavin Oliver, loads of other names I can't remember at this moment in time. And playing alongside them, we thought this was it. We'd get promoted. Anyway, we hit the skids after Christmas, and I remember it well. It was February. Lenny came to me and says, look, the chairman's talking to me about bringing in another coach. Would you fancy? And I said, yeah, of course. I'd love to. He said, well, player coach at the moment, when George Shipley was Lenny's assistant. So I jumped over George, and George did the reserves, and I coached and played for the first team. And then, as happens, Lenny fell out with Jeffrey, and we had, I think it was 5 or 6 defeats in 8 games, and drew a couple of games. And Lenny said, I think I'm getting the sack. So I said, oh, fingers crossed, you don't. Have that meeting and let me know what's said. Anyway, he came out the meeting and he said, I've gone and Jeffrey wants to see you. So I went up to see the chairman, and he said, right, I can't guarantee I'll give you the job, but would you be caretaker to the end of the season? So I said, brilliant, it's my opportunity, And I probably haven't gone on record and thanked Jeffrey for that opportunity. Obviously, we had a fallout in January of 98, and I ended up getting the sack. But once again, you can't change the course of history. If I hadn't got the job off Jeffrey, who knows where I would be today. So I accepted. Anyway, I did the first press conference, and they said, what do you think you can do with Bradford? So we were 6th or 7th from bottom. And I said, we'll get promotion this season. Not believing that we would actually, but you've got to say something to the press. And my first ever game was an FA Cup game. So it was against Preston North End here and Valley Parade. And Wayne Jacobs, of all people, the left back, scores an overhead kick and a side foot goal, and we win 2-1 in front of the Sky cameras. So I've got off to an absolute flyer as a manager, and yeah, this is easy and don't worry about it. We'll stroll through this league. And fortunately, yeah, we got all the way to the final game of the season that year, and we had to beat Hull City to get into the playoffs. So we'd had a fabulous run, but one or two games had gone for us. I think it was my former club, Swindon. We drew 1-1, whereas one more point or 2 more points would have gave us automatic promotion, but sorry, would have put us in the playoffs, but we didn't get those. So we have to go to Hull City on the final day of the season and win, and hope results go for us the other way. But if we won, we were definitely in the playoffs. So that day, every single Bradford fan who travelled away wanted to be at that game. The good fortune, or so I thought, was that Hull were already relegated. So I thought, maybe they'll be disappointed and won't have their foot on the gas and maybe allow us to go there and win. But having known football for years, it don't work like that. So the Bradford fans all want to go, and the away end held about 2,000 fans. So the chairman, as they were already relegated, says you can have the main stand that Hull City supporters use. And I said to the chairman, they won't go for that. Surely it's their ground. They can't let Bradford fans take over. He went, well, they've given us it. So we had 6,000 Bradford fans taking over the whole main stand where their supporters should be. And so the atmosphere is great. We get there to Hull, and I can feel the vibes, and we're buzzing. Within the first 15 minutes, we're a goal down, right? So there's a pitch invasion then. So it's not the Bradford fans, it's the Hull fans who are made to go in the away end have come to the pitch to complain and have a go at their chairman for allowing this to happen. So in the end, that was a godsend. So the game gets delayed by 15 minutes. So now we're trying to find out what the results of the other games are. Anyway, we're not in the playoffs at all. And then Mark Stallard grabs an equaliser. At least I think it was Mark. So it's 1-1. Before half time, they make it 2-1 to Hull. Another mini pitch invasion, but this time it's not 15 minutes on it, or a minute or two, because there's loads of police around the ground. Anyway, Des Hamilton makes it 2 each just after half time. I said to the lads at half time, don't panic, don't worry, long way to go in this game. Keep going as you are, but we need to be tighter at the back. So we go out eventually. Like I said, Des Hamilton gets the equaliser, and then the other games are finished, and the team, we weren't in the playoffs. I think, I'm not sure, it's Grimsby who were in the playoffs, but I'm not certain of that. And we're not. So we need another goal in these 15 minutes added on time. And lo and behold, Carl scores the winner, and we're in the playoffs. It's magical. You know, Bradford fans have come from everywhere. There's 5,000 in the stadium, there's 1,000 outside, and we get mobbed at the end of the game. But of course, we got Blackpool in the playoffs. We'd played Blackpool twice that season and lost twice. So I'm thinking, oh God, you know, Big Sam and his big team, how can we get against them? So they played 3 centre backs in the first leg of the playoffs at Valley Parade. So there's Linnigan, Bradshaw, and Andy Morrison just stood in front of the back four. Now, the problem we had in Ormerod was a great player for this club. But the problem we had, if our football didn't go well, we'd hoof it long. And Sticks wasn't the best with his back to the goal. Sticks was best when you run down the right hand side and you cross it. Big Sticks had a lovely leap and he'd time it to perfection. But when a centre half was up his back, he struggled to try and get flick-ons or hold the ball up, even though he was good at that. But when they were big boys in and around him, he struggled. So I'm watching the game unfold, and they've got these 3 centre backs, and we got battered. It was 2-0 at Valley Parade, but it could have been 4-0. And I thought after that game, that's it. My managerial career is over, finished. Jeffrey, as soon as the second leg is played, Jeffrey will get rid of me, no danger. Anyway, I went home that night. My mum and dad were staying over, and I told my wife to send them back to Middlesbrough. I was in no mood to socialise. So she phoned my chief scout, Andy Smith, and he's got a pal of his called John Allen. And my wife said, I've never seen Chris as low as this. Would you take him out for a few beers? You know, the game was Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock. So this is about 9 o'clock at night. So we go in the pub in Wakefield, and I'm trying to think what went wrong. You know, how can I possibly get any sort of result in the second leg? Anyway, we're having 1 pint, 2 pints, and then it comes to me, click. Those three centre backs are marking Stallard and Omenroyd, and Morrison is getting in front of Sticks or winning the flick-ons that he won. So I thought straight away, right, we'll have to drop in on first thing, play with one striker. That'll mean that those three centre backs are only marking one player, and any player who crosses the ball, Andy Kammy'S mainly, and Des Hamilton on the right, have to be level with the 18-yard box before you cross it. So it was ball across rather than a deep ball into the box. That meant they would win it. So we worked on this for 2 days before the second leg. And we get to Blackpool and managed to win the game 3-0. And then Bradford are at Wembley for the first time in their history, which is a proud moment for me. Absolutely fantastic. And I played David Brightwell because Eddie Yowds, my skipper, was injured against Blackpool away. So I had to call in Bryce and say, look, you had a great game in the semi, but I need to keep the same team apart from you. Eddie is my skipper. And Bryce was great about it. He said, yeah, no worries, same as Sticks, it's all about the team. And I look back at that game as well, the Notts County game. We had 3 subs, Neil Thompson, Ian Ormonroyd and Paul Jewell, and never put any of them on the pitch. Imagine that in this day and age when you see there's about 8 subs on the touchline and they roll them on and off these days. But they played so well. And that night at Blackpool, it could have been 4 or 5 nil, even though they hit the crossbar twice, Blackpool, which caused us a bit of a murmur, but nothing more than that. And the one thing I remember after that game, and I've spoken to her about it with Sam Allardyce, the changing rooms at Blackpool were, there was a door in between the 2 dressing rooms. So if you wanted, you could open that door and you'd be in the opposition dressing room. You obviously wouldn't do that, but it was paper thin walls, so they could hear everything. And our celebrations went on for about 40 minutes. And Big Sam made them sit in silence and listen to us celebrating. That's what you've missed out on. And I still chat to Big Sam occasionally about it. I never saw him after the game because I got mobbed on the pitch and then I was whisked off to do my press and stuff. So I phoned him the next day and said, sorry mate, no hard feelings. And he went, no, you know, the better team on the night. Yes, so I said, I'm sure I'll see you on my travels next year. And he said, no, I've been sacked. And I went, how come? You know, he went, the chairman rang me from prison. Owen Oyston, his chairman, was in prison and he rang him to say he was sacked. And Sam had, been great to me. He said, congratulations, you deserved it, before I asked him that question. So we get to Wembley and the mood in the camp was something like, I see all these managers who are successful, and it's all about the team. It's how they gel together and how positive they are. And then it makes it so much easier for a manager when that mood and that vibe is there and everyone's desperate to be successful. And I never thought, we would ever lose that game. We got to the morning of the final at Wembley, and the police came round the hotel. So they said, look, we're coming at 1 to escort you to Wembley. So I said, are we first or second? Said, you're first. You'll get there first, and Notts County will get there after you. So I went, no. And he went, why this superintendent? I said, we have got 32,000 fans going, and they've got 7 or 8, whatever it was. If we go first, we'll get a massive cheer from our supporters when we walk on the pitch. But when they walk on the pitch after us, they get massive boos, which will give them determination to shut up the Bradford fans. So I said, can you make out we're stuck in traffic and get us a second? He went, leave it with me. And that's exactly what happened. We walked on the pitch to massive crescendo from the Bradford fans. And the icing on the cake was we were all dressed in our club suits and everything. And Notts County players were in their own suits with a carnation, and they must have looked at us and heard the roar from all those Bradford fans and so. But today is not going to be our day. And it wasn't. Des Hamilton scored a great goal, and then Mark Stella took a flick on from the sticks, who came on as a sub and teed him up perfectly. Won the game 2-0, and we're promoted to what is the championship now. And yeah, everything in the garden was rosy back then.
That day, you walked out onto the pitch. You had your 2 boys by your side, who are now obviously all grown up. You met the Queen. We win the game. 32,000 Bradford City supporters in attendance at Wembley. That day itself, how special, looking back now, is that for you? Like you mentioned, the first Bradford City team to ever go to Wembley Stadium. How high does that rank in terms of your achievements and how proud you are now looking back on it?
Oh, massive. I've been lucky enough to have some great days in football and great days in my personal life, but that as a family unit doesn't come any better. I said to the chairman, Jeffrey, straight away, because he obviously could sell those 2 spots. It was normally 1 mascot in those days, and sell that for a couple of £1,000 to any wannabe fan to walk out. And I said to him, look, I want to walk out at Wembley with my two sons. And he went, yeah, do it, do it. And it was a real proud moment. My boys still remember that time and they enjoyed themselves. That is probably the only game I've managed at a football club. Obviously, I only had two jobs, Bradford and Stoke, and it didn't go great at Stoke. But the only game that I've sat on that touchline and thought we're gonna win today. And there's nothing can stop us winning. And everyone's, you can say that after the event, but I felt it from the minute that policeman said, yeah, we'll get you there second. I thought, right, it's our day.
We're speaking to you as part of our celebrations for Black History Month in October. When you look back to when you joined Bradford City, 1994, we've had a lot of players around that time and before, going back to the 1970s, Cesspod, the club's highest appearance holder, Joe Cook, players like that, who say that around that time, there was obviously a lot of racism. They came to Bradford City and they felt more accepted, they felt more welcome, they felt as part of something and part of a family straight away and almost celebrated for being black, where perhaps before in society, more than anything else, they'd not been. You'd obviously had a long career playing before that, like you mentioned, at different clubs, Leeds United, Swindon Town, Brentford. Did you feel that when you came to Bradford City straight away? Did you feel a part of something where you maybe not before, more in society, given the fact that you'd, like you say, had a long and successful career in the game?
Yeah, it's difficult for me on that one, basically, because I was one of the first black players to play for Portsmouth. I think there'd been two before me in the years, but Portsmouth had a small section, about 200 fans of National Front supporters. So they were there every game. And when my name got read out, they would, that type of thing. So I've grown up with racism. When I went to Swindon, I was the first black player to play for them. 77. So, a handful of black players throughout the game, as you mentioned, Cesspod and Joe Cook were two of those. So, it's that side of it. I went to Brentford and became their first black player to play in the Football League. And I never ever felt for 1 minute that they were judging me on my colour at all. So coming to Bradford, having had that shield of, positivity and, that's water off a duck's back. And the reason for that is I had racism growing up in Middlesbrough. We were one of the first we were the first black family on our estate, but one of the 3 or 4 black families in the whole town. You look at my school forms, and I'm the only black kid in the class, and but so you become hardened and not let that worry you or affect you. So maybe if, apart from Portsmouth, because it was my first club and there was banners of National Front in the crowd, apart from that, Portsmouth fans, by the way, loved us. So I don't want to take anything away from the genuine fans, but that small section would make themselves heard from time to time. So you just get on with it. Otherwise, if you listen to that, you'll go under. You know, I hear all these people saying, oh, if black players abuse, they should walk off the pitch. We work too hard to make the game more comfortable for black players, the players who played in the past, for them to walk off the pitch. The thing is, get the races at the stadium. Don't get the players walking off the pitch. That would affect 90.9% of the genuine fans. That would hurt them more than it would hurt the 1% of racists who then get a result by stopping the game. And all of a sudden, your team is 2-0 down. You don't believe in shouting racist chants, but you can get the game stopped by the players walking off the pitch. You're going to do it, you know. I've spoken to people and go, no, we wouldn't do that. But it's human nature. You know, it's an important game that you need to win. So I'm not up for that at all. You've got to, you know, it's more sensitive now, racism, than it's ever been. But when you look at it, there's more black players, well, hundreds of times more black players playing than when I started. So the opportunity for them to play has got better rather than less.
You become manager of Bradford City then. At that time, our first black manager in history at the club, remained to this day our only black manager in history. Obviously hugely significant for Bradford City as a club. How significant is that for you, and what does that represent for you in particular as a person?
Like I said, you know, one of the first black player to play for Brentford, the first black player to play for Swindon, the first black manager at Bradford. I didn't even think about that. You know, I'm focused and I'm me, you know, and that's the way I look at it. And it's only later in your career when you're doing books and you're reflecting about your career, you think, oh yeah, that was great. But at that time, I never thought, when I spoke to Jeffrey about being caretaker, I never thought about what the fans might be thinking about my colour. I just thought, you know, I'm Kammy, you know, the big worry for the Bradford fans is I played for Leeds and on the road rather than colour at all. And you've got to win them over by getting results. So, you know, the race riots of late, I'll say that again, the race riots of late have opened my eyes. I thought we were getting better as a society. And then that happens, those race riots, and it makes you look back to the 70s and 80s and maybe early 90s, although it wasn't so bad then, where racism was rife everywhere. It still goes on, it always goes on, but they came out of their holes in their numbers. Thankfully, they've gone back into their holes, and it was short-lived, but it is still there. It's around, you know. You can't trust everyone, although I have to say, Kammy, the character who I am, I get only love from everyone, which is amazing.
You finished in football as a manager. You left here, went to Stoke City, and then after that, took up a career in punditry. 24 years on Sky Sports. You became a face, a name, a voice, synonymous with Saturday afternoons. How do you look back on such a fantastic stint in punditry on Sky Sports, where you made so many people smile and so many people laugh? And I would imagine that made you smile and that made you laugh as well.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I've got Bradford to thank once again. The start of the 96, 97 season, we won virtually every game in August. So I got the Manager of the Month award. And then Sky took over the filming of the EFL as it is now. And the first game was Sheffield United versus Sunderland. So I got a call from a person in Sky and said, would you be interested in being a pundit on the game? And I said, yeah, of course. You know, I'd done radio Leeds and radio Bradford commentaries and all that sort of stuff. So going into the TV wouldn't be a problem as far as I was concerned. And I said, yeah, great. I live in Wakefield. I said, it's 40 minutes to Bramall Lane. I'll be there. And they said, oh no, you've got to come to Sky in London. We video the game and you watch it in the studio. So I did that. And then there was a double header of games that day. And Jerry Francis, who was the Bristol Rovers manager, he was doing the second game. Anyway, Jerry phones in to say he's stuck on the M4 and it looks like he won't make the second game. So they said to me, and I was doing it with a presenter called Marcus Buckland, and it was his first day at Sky. And they said, would you stay for the second game? So we did 6 hours of telly, obviously 2 games in between, loads of adverts and loads of punditry. And I became the go-to fella for Sky whenever we didn't have a game. So they come to me. So when I got the sack from Bradford, they rang me straight away and said, look, would you be interested in coming to work for Sky as a pundit? And I said, well, I'd like to keep my face on the telly, but I'm not interested in doing TV full time. I want to be a football manager. Anyway, I went to Stoke afterwards. It didn't work out well there, my former club, and you tarnish your history there if things don't go well on the pitch, and they didn't go well. Lots of reasons for that. And I was lucky enough then straight away, the person who offered me the job said, yeah, we'll give you work as pundit. Do you want to be considered for a full-time job, or do you want to go back into management? And I said, oh, definitely management. And over the course of time, I got offered 6 jobs. Swindon was one of them, where my wife is from and my boys were born, even though they consider themselves Yorkshiremen. that was one I could have gone to, and various other clubs. And my wife said, "Stay in the TV. When you come home, you're yourself. When you came home as a manager, you weren't here, you know." And it makes you think, consider the family. So I said, all right, I'll give Sky my best shot, see where it goes. I was working for Five Live as well, doing commentaries for them. And all of a sudden, Sky out the blue said, look, we like what you do, we'd love to keep you, carry on. And the next 24 years, I stayed with Sky.
As your wife points out, when you're on the television, and everybody has her to thank, really, then for the fact that you did stay with Sky for so long. But when you are on the television, and when you have been on the television, you are yourself. So many people warmed to that and warmed to your charisma and your personality. How heartwarming was that for you to know that people liked you as a person in your natural state? You didn't have to put on a front or an act for the television cameras. You were yourself, and people loved that.
I didn't realize it for a long, long time. I didn't accept it. And I kept thinking I'm going to have to win certain people over, and, certain amount of fans and everything. I mean, it wasn't till 2010, I think it was. Me and Jeff we went to the World Cup in Tokyo in 2002. And so we went to South Africa. And then the England fans we love the soccer society. It's amazing. And you Kammy on Soccer AM, you on Goals on Sunday, and all of a sudden, the three programs I'm involved in, everyone watches religiously at the weekends, and you start to think, oh, maybe I'm doing a good job. But the reaction of people, and I think I realized more. So when I became ill with my neurological injury, that the world out there is amazing, and the feedback and love that I got from everybody across the board was amazing.
You mentioned those programs, Goals on Sunday, also Soccer AM, but also more recently Ninja Warrior UK as well with Ben Shepherd. We saw quite a touching, heartwarming interview feature on Good Morning Britain not too long ago where there was quite an embrace between you and Ben. How special has that been, not to just form a fantastic, what looks like a fantastic on-screen relationship with somebody like Ben, but what appears a really good, a really cherished friendship between the two of you through the work that started off on television?
Amazing. Ben Shepherd has been incredible. Jeff Stelling, amazing. Steph McGovern, I know a lot of football fans wouldn't watch Steph's pack lunch, but on Channel 4 we had a fabulous relationship, and I've just been lucky, to be partnered with those people. I started off with Rob McCaffrey on Goals on Sunday in 2002, long, long time back. And I did Soccer Extra before with Brian Woolner and Matt Lorenzo. And I was the football pundit. And then they decided to give that a show to me and Rob, and we had a great time with it. And then Jeff came and did half a season. Ian Payne, Stan Boardman's son Paul, he did a season, and then Shep came in. And whereas I think Jeff would put me right if I was working alongside him. But certainly Shep did. He taught me the manners that you need to have on TV. You know, he still let me be me and come out with some outrageous stuff. But when I was over the top, he'd warn me and say, look, that's not acceptable. And I used to say, but it's me, I can get away with it. And he said, one of these days you won't. And thankfully, I didn't get to one of those days, but I know what he means now when I see other people putting their foot in it.
2022, 2 years ago, you stepped back from your role at Sky Sports. You mentioned the neurological injury that you have currently. You're here today. You look fantastic as always. How do you feel?
Thank you. I'm good. Yeah, I've been to Mexico twice. Monterrey, it is. Neurocytonics. And I've been for 2 lots of treatment, and it's non-invasive. You sit in like an MRI unit, and it radio waves and magnetic waves into the brain, and it tries to repair the brain. You know, when I think back to 3 years ago, I'm so much better than I was then. When I had to finish at Sky, I couldn't hardly string any words together. Now the fluency is back in my voice, whereas before I would think of something, transferring that into words was not impossible, but very, very slow and cumbersome. And as you've probably seen from this interview, sometimes the words come out wrong that you're trying to say. So I've been back and I've got the fluency back in my voice. And the only thing missing is the occasional words getting mixed up and the speed, you know, whereas I used to talk 300 mile an hour, you know, that. So I'm going back for one more treatment and hopefully they can sort it. If they don't, my family, to be fair to them, are quite happy as I am. They've said, stop chasing, you know, that person, he's gone, you know, but I can't get my head around that. So I'm going for one more treatment and see how it goes.
You did a TV show a couple of years ago as well on this particular topic, and I think that really hit home with a lot of people, both in terms of how your condition is and how it is living with it, but also your mentality towards, like you've just mentioned there, attacking it and wanting to take it face on and try and do all you can to live with it. The love, like you mentioned, on the back of that from people, all corners of society, whether that's sport or anything else, has been fantastic. How has that been for you, and how heartwarming for you to receive all of that, both before the TV that you did and after that show in particular, to feel all that warmth from the public?
It's been incredible. Ben Shepherd's production company filmed all that, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to do it. You know, I don't want to reveal my illness to the world. And a hypnotherapist, old Daniel McDermott in Leeds, he kept saying to me, the day you reveal your illness is the day you start getting better. And it was true. It was really true. And I saw a brain surgeon 3 and a bit years ago, maybe 4 years now. And he looked at my brain and he said, "Look, you've got apraxia of speech. Not only added to that, you've got dyspraxia, which affects your balance. So trying to stand on one leg or walking upstairs is great, but you need a handrail to walk downstairs, yeah, to be able to control your body." And my wife and family, they think, oh, just work out, just get fit. Don't worry about your voice. Work it, but it's not that simple. The signal from the brain, say, for example, I was to get on a bike now, I would ride that bike for 10 yards and then being able to put my foot down is not, I would say, not impossible, but the signal from the brain won't allow it to go down to balance yourself. So the bike stops and you keel over. That's the best example I can give. But if I was to get my balance back, great. But the one thing I'm chasing is the old me. I don't know whether he'll ever be there, but I'm gonna give it one more go.
That's good to hear. What have you got going on at the minute, work-wise? You seem to be keeping yourself busy. You've recently launched a beer. Anything else that people can look forward to
Honestly,
seeing?
it's amazing. Since I came out, I was fearful that everyone would wash their hands of me and all that type of stuff, but not at all. The offers keep coming in. The beer I did was with Brew York, but I'm massively into my charity these days. I want to give back. I've been fortunate, I've been lucky. So they approached me and I said the only way I could get involved is if you can pay some money towards a charity, and most of the profit goes to Marie Curie. Sorry, most of the profit goes to Prostate UK. Uh, yeah, and that's another story. So Marie Curie is a charity. I've been fortunate enough to raise millions of pounds for them. Uh, the Apraxia Association, Childhood Apraxia Speech. I'm being a patron of that charity, so I'm trying to get speech and language therapy for young kids because they need it. There's, I think it's 5% of the population of kids who are born have speech defects, which is a hell of a lot, and they don't get the chance of therapy. So we're fighting for that. I've got an underactive thyroid as well. Whoa, me, gone. So I'm working for the Thyroid Association. I do stuff for the Sunflower Children's Charity. I'm a patron of that as well. So I'm trying to give as much back as people are giving me. People are giving me loads and loads. And just go back to your question, the work front. I've just done a social media ad for checkandtrade.com, and I've done a Mercedes-Benz vans. I'm promoting them. And I keep telling them, I can't talk as quick as I used to. Don't worry about it. You're still coming. Yeah. Mm.
We look forward to seeing more of that. Just before we finish, finally, want to hark back to the Black History Month element of the interview. In terms of that boy growing up on the estate in Middlesbrough, like you mentioned earlier in the interview, compare that to now. You've been through what you've been through in your career as a player, as a manager. You've seen and heard all sorts in society. Can you compare those two sort of situations when you sit here now and looking back to that boy growing up in Middlesbrough, how much progress perhaps has been made over the interim period and perhaps what more needs to be done?
Yeah. I look back to my primary school, St. Pius's, and to think I dreamed of playing professional football, but never imagined it I would. And then my dad said, Middlesbrough is going to be a difficult place for you, so you need to join the armed forces. And that's where my bit of luck came in. The Navy football team trained where I was stationed in Torpoint in Devon, Cornwall, sorry, Torpoint, and the team trained there, and I managed to get a game, and Portsmouth bought me out. So that whirlwind start to professional football. I was 16 years of age and I made my debut against Luton 3 months later. It's like, wow, it's something that's written in a film. It don't happen in real life. So obviously I'm grateful for all the things I've had. But I'm just determined whatever I do, whatever I get involved in, or I was determined that whatever people think of me as either a black person or me as just a person, I will prove to you that I'm worth my chance. And I just go on with it, and I never ever let diversity get in the way. I just kept thinking, you, you can't keep crying wolf and saying, oh, I should have been there, but he didn't like me, or he stopped me going there. Just get on with it, do it. If you give it your best shot and that's not good enough, and then you have to hold your hands up. If you give it your best shot and you get somewhere, then great.
What is Black History Month's importance to you? What does it mean to you? What is its significance to Chris Kamara?
Well, I'm a patron of another patron of a charity of Show Racism, the red card. Funny enough, when I got the sack from Stoke City, they asked me to go to Dublin because Dublin was really a white country, right? So show racism asked me to go round there and go round these schools. And this, we're talking now, 1998. So 98, there was hardly any black people in Ireland, basically. Not a lot at all. So we went round the schools educating people. And I have to say, the people were brilliant, magnificent. It wasn't, oh God, what's that black face? It was pleased to see you and all that. And I don't know what the racism is like in Ireland, but I didn't get any vibes of that at all. And so I've worked for that charity for a long time, and it's only in these last however many months where I've not thought it's improving. Obviously, there's isolated incidents here, there, and everywhere where, people actually are coming up with genuine situations where they're being racially abused, but they're few and far between. And now we've had those race riots. It's brought it to the fore again massively, and we have to try and get education back in these schools for the youngsters to tell their mums and dads that that is not acceptable. We all worry about our kids' future. I do. I worry about my kids, even though the oldest one, Ben, was 40. And the grandkids, you worry about how it will be for the rest of their lives. So I know people are worried when they see the figures of people coming into this country, but we have to try and work together, blacks and whites or whatever colour you are. We need to work together as best as we possibly can.
It's been great to have you back down here at Valley Parade.
Thank you.
It's been great to speak to you and hear from you on Bradford City.
Waffling. Yeah.
Never anything to apologise about. But we hope you've enjoyed being back here, Chris Kamara. On behalf of all the Bradford City supporters, with the picture on the wall behind you in mind, thank you very much.
Where's the picture of me? I don't even know where that is.
We'll have to dig them out somewhere. We've got plenty. We've got a picture of you meeting the Queen. We've got pictures of you helping open up the Midland Road stand. But it's been great to have you here, Chris. As always, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you again before too long.
Thank you.